Good morning, people. Right, quite a straightforward morning this morning. I could see New Zealand dollar was really weak, CAD was really strong. It was just a question of picking the best looking examples, and US dollar was strong as well, deciding whether to trade NZD USD. As you can see, there's a big difference. This is just a pullback on a long trend, whereas New Zealand dollar CAD was below the daily pivot and below the S1, and was in a good strong downtrend. So it wasn't difficult to make the decision. You can see H4 had done the big bust, pullback, break and close on this candle here. So that in itself is a massive trigger to go potentially short. Then draw a couple of levels on these charts as well. There's the reversal there. There's the close. There's the pullback. There's the continuation on the H4 chart, that is. Then just double check while we're on this H4, draw some levels on the recent candles, see what's broken out. Because normally on an H4, if it's sideways, you're just drawing your levels on the highs and lows and waiting for the lower time frames. For example, on the histogram, deciding which direction you want to go. But anything that might affect the price before your entry, I'll stick the trade on there now. Anything that you might think might affect the price, you always stick levels on, of course. So down here, price has been broken through that low. Then the next low, this red candle here, and then the next low, the green candle. Just looking for gaps between these H4 levels and seeing what's tradable. Double check the daily as well. Always check the daily to see what's going on. Well, we'd had a push up to the long side, lots and lots of spikes, and we've got a flip zone below us, say sort of PPZ, price pivot zone, call it what you like, or a in this instance a area where demand had come into the market, that huge great big green candle there. Might as well, while we're here, might as well stick a low on there as well, and the one prior to that to see what might affect price. But as a scalper, I'm out of my trade well before these levels are are attacked. Need to check the old resistance that this has broken through, this buying, to see whether there's any levels here. There's not. It's all clear air. You know, for example, this level here, if this was up somewhere around here, then it's you need to check that either you've closed through it with something like this. This is a gap down with an open, so that means if your resistance level, this yellow level, was up here and had been opened through, it means it has given way. I hope that makes sense. So old resistance in front of you, recent support in front of you, all levels that need to be tested. But because this had broken through a ton of stuff over on this left hand side here, with this open, in other words, we treat that as a close, a breach, whatever you want to call it, a break and close. Opens are always important if we gap down. Okay, so then back to H4, back to H1. This is where it gets interesting on the histo, because I'm always watching for either a lower low on the histo bars, close lower, which was prior to my entry. M30, my beloved M30, was pushing through this low here. It hadn't closed below it, which was a shame, but it's all about perception of the price action at this point and where you're going. This was screaming short all the while. This was telling us it was short too, well, this was just guiding us to what currency pairs to check, and the NZ was extremely weak, so it's just a question of finding something strong against that, which obviously is the CAD. And then lower time frames, now we're getting to the point where it gets interesting as well. We had a a confirmation to the downside, if memory serves me correctly. Actually, the confirmation to the downside was over here. This close here, below this low here, low, high, high, low, high, high. That was the ultimate high in this instance. That was the support that needed to hold in order for this to consider returning up that way. It didn't. So it was just a question of then dropping to M5. That was also very interesting to me prior to my trade as well, if I remember correctly. You know, you study every time frame, guys, to build up a picture of what's going on. It's not a game, it's a business. The low of that is 26.12. The close of that was 26.99. Okay, and then the 5 minute. Again, the histo alert now and the confirmations are what's important to us prior to the entry. This is a swing downtrend now, high, low, lower high, break the low of that. We have swung down. We've also got confirmations involved here. That low there, low, high, high, low, high, high. It was closed below just before my entry. And, you know, break, pull back, bust and close here. Or on that candle there. Little bit of drawdown, but these are not huge movers, so stops don't have to be huge at all. You know, 7 or 8 pips, beautiful, and target just under 6 pips, which is my daily pip requirement. And the big round number down here, the H4 level, was treated as a target. You know, it's just a question of stacking up all the tick boxes that you can. Gap, look at this gap between two H4 levels here. That's why I draw the levels on the charts all the time, because they represent targets. And then a clear gap between this H4 and this H4 as well, and look what happens. It disrespects the round number and goes straight and respects the old H4. That's what we do, guys. Support and resistance. These are incidental. This is incidental. But the whole world watches those levels, and they've missed a trick, in my opinion, by not watching these levels. Okay? So that's this morning's trade. Nice and straightforward. Always trade with the trend, and always, you know, well, all you can do is screen time, guys. Hours and hours of this, and you will get it. I promise you. When you see, you know, you don't have to. You mustn't trade live real money until you can trade a demo account in exactly the same way as you would a real account. You've got to treat your demo account as real. That's the only way you get value from demo accounts. If you just hit trades on a whim and you don't have structure in your trading, you will fail. One important thing also, if you want to, try and have a demo account, have 2 or 3 demo accounts and do different strategies on them all. Have one for your daily trade. You only need 1 trade a day. That's what, you know, I started out at this, and it wasn't so long ago. You know, we're talking a few months ago, because of lockdown and because I found a thread on Forex Factory, that I came back to trading throughout the day. Prior to that, I would take my trade, close my charts, come back in the evening and look for an end of day trade, and that's it. I started on 1 trade a day, and then I built up to 2 trades a day. I tried to do the American session. I have to be honest, I gave up because I just couldn't get my head around it. I'm sure I could now, but it's a waste of my time to even try. There's no need. You don't have to be good at everything. Just find one time period that suits your lifestyle, work, time zone, whatever, and then own it. And then as you get better, then you can start to go on. So going back to the demo accounts, have one for, say, the morning trade, have one for the end of day trade. If you can only trade the American session, have one for the American session, and then have one that you test your theories on all sorts of other methods, and so on and so forth. And that can save you taking notes. Plenty of places allow you. And then just have your terminal. I mean, I work from a laptop, so I have my different terminals, and I used to have one for, and I used to call it, rename the icon or whatever it is on your desktop, London session, Frankfurt session, end of day, and then just stick to your plan. And then have one that, I don't know, call it mix or test, call it test. 3 or 4 demo accounts and keep them separate. That way they work as a notepad. You don't have to take notes. Okay, just something I used to do and something that worked for me. So sorry for the preachy bit on this video, but it's all about planning. Plan your trades, trade your plans. Thanks for watching. Have a great Tuesday.